program led by the National Treasury to address infrastructure deficiencies and also to enhance service delivery in municipal trading services such as water, electricity, sanitation and waste management. Now, this intervention has been widely welcomed by a number of our metros. National Treasury rigorously monitors municipal finance health through the local government revenue and expenditure reports. This system tracks budget credibility, spending on service delivery infrastructure, on revenue collection, as well as on the debt levels that our municipalities have. The City of Cape Town shares many of the challenges of other metros and cities. These include rapid urbanization, population shifts, leading to increased pressure on services like housing, water, and sanitation. So, in many ways, with regard to facing those challenges, it is not dissimilar to many others. The legacy of apartheid special planning placed many townships and informal settlements far away in distance from economic hubs and service centers. Now, while the City of Cape Town, as asked, tends to perform well on measures of financial governance, it has not demonstrated significant progress in reducing the levels of inequality within the metro. In fact, census data shows that in the decade between 2011 and 2022, Cape Town performed worse than the average of all metros in expanding access to services such as refuse removal, piped water, electricity, and flush toilets to its citizens or residents. Analysis of the city's budget suggests that the per capita investment in infrastructure and service delivery is significantly lower in townships and informal settlements than in the city's more affluent areas. In the spirit of governance, or cooperative governance rather, the national government works with municipalities across the country, including the City of Cape Town, to address these and many other challenges. This assistance includes conditional grants for infrastructure and capacity building. It also includes technical assistance programs. Also included in there is the training for municipal officials and infrastructure development support. The national government is committed to working with provincial governments and municipalities to ensure that all our country's citizens enjoy equal access to quality services. And this is an area that we are focusing on as we lead the reform that needs to happen at the municipal levels, which is enabling us to address the challenges that our municipalities face. Under the Vulindlela reform process, which is really transforming a number of areas of our country's economic centers, we have now included local government as another area where we need to show progress. And we're focusing on this in phase 2 of the work that we are doing in addressing the challenges that we are facing. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. The first follow-up question is from Honorable Mananiso.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. President, recently the Ncop undertook a local government week to the Western Cape, which uncovered shocking levels of service delivery, as you have just alluded, inequalities, and projects that have been in planning phases for almost 2 decades, leaving communities in the Western Cape Township to live in the most shocking condition of poor roads, lack of water and sanitation, and high levels of crime. My question to you, Mr. President, given these persisting challenges that are facing municipalities across the country, as you said, and what we saw as members of the NCOP in the city of Cape Town and the terrible state of the living condition of our people, what progress are we making in ensuring that critical interventions such as the district development model improve the delivery of basic services in the township informal settlement where the majority of our people continue to experience enormous service delivery challenges and backlog? And Mo President, ke kopa ha we araba we arabe ka dipuo tse dintsi gore batho ba go utlwe go gae ba tse molaetsa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Acting Chief Whip. Over to you, President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The Honorable Member would like me to do a take of 11 languages in answering this question. I would love to do that, and I can do it, but I simply do not have the time within the 4 minutes that the chairperson has allocated me. Empa ke tla arabela ka tsela ena ya hore ho na le ditiro tse dintsi tse re di etsang tsa go lokisa bo masepala ba rona, and re ba lokisa go gotle mo go gong re etsa ntho e re bitsang gore ke presidential working group, which we have done to good effect in eThekwini. eThekwini, as I've often said, has been and is now rising to be once again the tourism mecca of our country. And when we realized that it was facing challenges, we were able to work together with various role players in eThekwini: business, labor, local government, provincial government, civic organizations, and many others, to set up a presidential working group, which is working extremely well. It is led by Mr. Mike Mabuyakulu, working together with our mayor, Cyril Klaba. eThekwini is being turned around, and those are some of the interventions that we are now putting in place, even for Johannesburg, and we will be putting same in place in other places as well, in other metros. At national government level, as I said, we have decided in phase 2 of our process of transforming the work that we need to do. We have identified that local government is an area that we need to have more focus on. And as we focus on local government, there are quite a number of issues: governance issues that we need to address, financial management issues, and service delivery matters as well. A number of our local government places or municipalities are facing enormous challenges. And you could say maybe this is one area that we have neglected for quite a long time. But we are now in the process of spotlighting those areas and making sure that we do indeed start a correction process. And that is now happening in a number of our local government entities. We have started. It will take time, but the work is now underway. Ke kgolwa gore re tla fitla mo re tshwanetseng gore re fitle teng. Ka hobane ha re sa etse tiro e, go tla senyega dintho tse dintsi. Ke a kgolwa ge ke buile dipuo tse kaofela tse 11 o nkutlile sentle.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. The next follow-up question is asked by Honorable Badenhorst.
Afternoon, Mr. President. Welcome back. Mr. President, Cape Town's record 40 billion rand 3-year infrastructure budget directs 75% of spending to lower income households. A pro-poor investment that alone exceeds the entire capital budgets of the other metros. Simply put, no city in South Africa invests more in infrastructure for the poor than Cape Town. And so, Mr. President, you were quite right and honest recently when you said publicly that the ANC should learn from the DA-led city of Cape Town and Stellenbosch. And you were being honest again when you said that, and I'm going to quote you, Mr. President, at least there's one city and one province that works, unquote. And I think your colleague, Minister Mantashe, was also quite correct and honest when he said that ANC councillors are, and I quote again, good at singing, but capacity, dololo, unquote. Now, after that, you tried to do damage control by suggesting that the Auditor General only audits financial performance and not service delivery. Mr. President, surely somebody in your position should know that the Auditor General in South Africa audits both financial performance and service delivery. Anyone who has ever read an AG report should know that. So will you now correct that erroneous statement and confirm, as the AG does, as well as Stats SA, as well as COCTA and a range of other state and independent agencies, Cape Town consistently outperforms other cities in service delivery and also invests by far the most in basic services infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. President.
What is the question, Honourable Badenoch?
Thank you for the opportunity to repeat the question, Honourable Chair. So, will you now correct that erroneous statement that he made regarding Cape Town's performance and confirm that, as the AG does, as well as Stats SA, as well as COCTA and a range of other state and independent agencies, that Cape Town consistently outperforms other cities in service delivery and also invests by far the most in basic services infrastructure, question mark. Thank you.
You may respond, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. My answer will be very short and to the point. My reliance is on two scientific instruments. The one is a Stats SA data or census analysis, and the other one is on the budget analysis of the city of Cape Town. And I did say in my head reply that census data shows that in the decade between 2011 and 2022, Cape Town performed worse than the average of all metros in expanding access to services such as refuse removal, piped water, electricity, and flush toilets. And this is not my information. It is data that is derived from the census. So it has performed worse than the average of all metros. So you may well say, yes, on the audited financial statements, it has shown that, yes, it has done well. But in the end, what really matters is the impact on the lives of the people. And if a metro is said by census data to have performed worse than the average metros, that metro should be worried. It cannot stand on top of Table Bay Mountain and say we are the best. No, it cannot do so. It cannot do so. Now the other measure, and I'm not the first one to do this. I'm not the first one to do this. There are other cleverer people who have done an analysis of the city's budget, and where they say that it suggests that on a per capita investment in infrastructure and service delivery, it is significantly lower in townships and informal settlements. It may well say that it has spent billions, but on a per capita basis, it continues to follow the racial patterns of the past. Because in the past, the apartheid government spent more money in white areas than it did in black areas. And the analysis says this is continuing right here in Cape Town. So one cannot stand on Table Mountain and say, I am doing better than others. you need to demonstrate that on a per capita basis, you are changing the lives of people. That is what is required. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. May I once again request honorable members not to interrupt the speaker on the podium. So, Table Mountain, Tololo. The President can't stand on a Table Mountain. Let's accept that and proceed to the next follow-up question, which is asked by Honorable Siwisa.
Chairperson, ka boikokobetso ke kopa go mo tsaela potso eo ka gonne wa sokola ka connectivity.
Honorable members, continuously we've been requesting that should there be any arrangements in terms of swapping, can we be informed? And as a result, I'm told that Honorable Siwisa, she's on a virtual platform, and accordingly, I afford her an opportunity to ask a question. If she's not able to answer, to ask the question, unfortunately, we're going to skip her because we've not been informed about her not being in a position to ask the question. Honorable Siwisa.
No, Chair, thank you very much. I had put in a request because where I am, the network was bad. I only realized, I think, 5 minutes before the House sitting chair. Apologies. Chair?
Proceed, Honorable Siwisa. We can hear you. Can you ask a question, please?
Represent.
Honorable Siwisa, can you please ask the question to the President?
Okay, thank you, Chair. President, yes, Chair. Network. Mr. President, effective and reliable service delivery is one of the biggest challenges facing this country, and it's concerning to note there is a general lack of progress in addressing administration. You introduced the district development model, and one of its objectives was to improve service delivery. Yet today, South Africans are still exposed to worsening living conditions due to increased lack of service delivery. In light of this reality, why do you still rely on a model that is clearly not in its best interest of South Africans? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Siwisa. I'm not so sure, President, if you heard the question. It was about why do you rely on what? I couldn't get that clearly. So if, Honorable Siwisa, can you finish off just the question? And we're requesting that
Why does the President still rely on the DDM model for the purpose of service delivery? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Over to you, Honorable President.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you. I think I did hear the question now. The district development model, as I said, is a system of seeking to integrate various processes: planning, implementation, and execution. But more importantly, it is a system through which we seek to break down the silo way of working, of getting all the relevant entities in the local government to work together, be it the government at local government level, be it business, be it civil society, be it labor, but we even go further and say the provincial government should also be deeply involved in what is happening at local government level. And in many ways, this is also decreed by our Constitution, that we should have intergovernment cooperation and collaboration. So the district development model is an expression of precisely what is the ethos that is set out in our Constitution regarding how intergovernmental cooperation should be executed. It practicalizes it, it makes it simpler, it makes it more effective, and we have, as I said earlier, already seen how it works in areas that are faced with challenges, and eThekwini is a good example, Johannesburg is another good example, and as we now are executing it, or implementing it rather, a number of metros as well as local municipalities are saying they would like that model to be properly and fully implemented through a working group style or approach that we have now started implementing to good effect in eThekwini. So in the end, the district development model is to get all these entities at district level to work together to address the various challenges. And where it is being implemented, we see great progress. But where the implementation is rather weak, which is precisely what we are seeking to correct, we find that it is gaining traction and it is addressing the challenges that our people are facing in the local government space. Local government space, as I said, faces enormous challenges, but we are addressing that. And we believe that we are making progress, and we will continue to make progress in revamping and repositioning many of our municipalities or local government entities. So it is an effective system, and it is proving to have efficacy and effectiveness. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. We are now proceeding to the last question, follow-up question, which is asked by Honorable Mokoena.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, President. Given your answers,
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Given your answers about how poorly Western Cape has performed, Mr. President, it is disappointing that you will then advise councillors to look to the architects of exclusion for lessons on service delivery. My question to you, sir, is when was the last time you took a physical walk through the streets of Guguletu, visited the people and other poorly services areas of this province? If not, why not? Because the moment that you endorsed the DA-run municipalities as better, you were in fact declaring that apartheid spatial planning is better than what the policies are in place right now. Thank you.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. So you know, I was last in Kayamnandi, I would say maybe Kayamandi, I would say maybe between 8 weeks or 10 weeks ago. And I have been to Khayelitsha, I've been to Guguletu, I've been to Langa, and I have seen horror scenes that tell you that in this city of Cape Town, that attention that is being given to where black people live is less than desirable. And I have compared Johannesburg and Cape Town. Johannesburg, in the past 10 years or so, really made a great effort to upscale Soweto, where I grew up, which was really, really horrible. But now Soweto, in the main, has been largely upgraded because of the attention that the city of Johannesburg paid. Now, of course, as I said, many of our cities are facing an influx of more and more people. As more and more people come in, the pressure on service delivery is quite heavy when it comes to refuse removal, when it comes to water delivery and electricity distribution and all that. So and indeed, people just form informal settlements, and there is weak enforcement of bylaws. And many of our cities are facing that, so we must admit that. But efforts need to be taken in a determined way by our local government entities to address those challenges as they come up. because we are not the first cities in the world to face influx of people who come in to set up home in our various cities. And therefore, our budget execution or allocation must address those challenges that are given rise by the influx of people. It should never be that more attention is given to the more affluent areas at the expense of the places where lesser income people live. And this is exactly what we are seeing here in Cape Town. And that is why I referred to the budget analysis. Because in the end, whilst the financial statements that are put together may well show a picture, but you need to analyze precisely where the expenditure is going. Here in Cape Town, the analysis of those who look at the budget tell us that on a per capita basis, the city is performing worse than many others. So that needs to be corrected. And I say it as president not to sort of dismiss the efforts that are being made. I say it so that all our cities, all our municipal entities must focus on corrective measures that we need to take. So it is not, for instance, to take Cape Town and dump it in the dustbin. I say it, yes, let us all try and pick up the areas where there has not been much development. And as I say, we need to learn from each other. Yes, we do need to learn from each other. And we also need to go to the Eastern Cape and learn from a municipality called Sengu, which has been having the best audited statements for the longest time. So even a Cape Town must go and learn there, even a Johannesburg must go and learn there. How are they doing it? Why are they achieving such great results, and why are they enforcing or enhancing such good development in their little town? So we all have to learn from each other, and it is through learning from each other that we become better. And that's precisely the point I was also making at that event, Honorable Badenhorst.
That's why the Eastern Cape is in the Western Cape.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. We are proceeding to the next question, which is question number 8, that has been asked by Honorable Duplessis. I'm told that Honorable Billy will be standing in for Honorable Duplessis. The question is with regards to addressing corruption in Cabinet. Over to you, Honorable President.
To overcome the scourge of corruption, Honorable Chair, in our society, we need to uphold as well as to advance the rule of law. We need to ensure that due process is indeed followed without fear, favor, or prejudice. Since the start of this presidency in 2018, we have focused on rebuilding our law enforcement agencies, strengthening and resourcing our institutions, as well as entrenching the independence of the judiciary. The results of these efforts are evident. Bodies like the Special Investigating Unit, the Hawks, and the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption are registering significant progress in uncovering corruption, making arrests, embarking on prosecutions, as well as recovering stolen assets. These bodies have shown that they do not fear to act, and as we speak, a number of figures in government, in state-owned entities, and business are standing trial for alleged corruption. So it runs right across the board, be it in business, be it in SOEs, be it in government. We have introduced a tracking mechanism to ensure that referrals from the Special Investigating Unit are implemented. Members of the National Executive are not above the law. If there are credible allegations against anyone in Cabinet, they should be investigated by the relevant law enforcement agency. If any member of the National Executive is charged with corruption or other serious crime, they will need to vacate their position pending the outcome of any case against them. The fight against corruption must be grounded in the rule of law and also due process. Corruption must be rooted out in all its forms in our society. Our people expect nothing less than that. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. I'm reliably informed that Honorable Duplessis, she has managed to join in on virtual platform. I accordingly afford an opportunity to ask a follow-up question. Honorable Duplessis. Honorable Ryder.
Chairperson, I believe she's just landed from the trip that you've also just returned from, and her connectivity may not be ideal. She was struggling to join. She may have severe connectivity issues. Can we stick to the arrangement which was made?
No, that's fine then. If that is so, because I just saw her now, she was online. And Honorable Briley, can I afford you an opportunity to ask a follow-up question?
Thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you. Mr. President, following from your response, but perhaps to be slightly more precise, I do want to ask you, Mr. President, that does your failure to address allegations against Minister Simelane, as opposed to your decisive action against ex-Minister Mchunu, signal a U-turn in your self-proclaimed and anti-corruption stance, or do you employ a more nuanced approach to protect supporters and punish your opponents? Thank you.
Over to you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. No, I do not have double standards. As the person who appoints people to the national executive of our country, I do evaluate various matters rather carefully. And in that process of evaluation, then I do make a call. And in the various cases that we've referred to, that is the process that we have followed. I ask for reports, I evaluate the reports, and then I make a call without any fear, which I think you allude to, any favor, which you allude to, and any prejudice. That's precisely how it works. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable President, for the response. We are now proceeding to Honorable Modupi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Ke go dumedise tautona ya naga ya rona, President Ramaphosa. Honorable President, while we recognize and applaud the measures you have taken against corruption and welcome the numerous SIU proclamation that you have signed to investigate the allegation of corruption in institutions like Tembisa Hospital, there is this one individual who's reported to be involved in corruption at Tembisa Hospital. Honorable President, can you please clarify your relationship with him? If any, and how does this allegation, which seeks to link you to this particular individual, attempt to undermine your commitment to fight rigorously against corruption, irrespective of who does it and whoever it happens? Ke a leboga.
Over to you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, this matter has occupied the headlines for quite a number of days now. My spokesperson, Mr. Vincent Magwenya, addressed the media yesterday in response to what they say was a video and a photograph. And he focus on that, and he explained what is my relationship or at all with this person. Now, 47 years ago, I got married to his father's sister, his aunt. We divorced 43 years ago. And when I said to Honorable Steenhuisen in 2022, when he asked whether I knew him, I said I did not know him because I had never encountered him, I had never seen him, and that was gospel true. Now, later in 2023, as I was walking in the street in my neighborhood, I walked past a house, as Mr. Magwenya said. I'm now promoting him to a minister. As Mr. Magwenya said yesterday, I was walking in a street where I usually walk, and even this morning, coming here, my convoy drives past that house. There are 2 entrances to where I live, or 3, and it is the thoroughfare, the way where we drive and where I also walk. So in 2023, I was walking, as Mr. Magwenya said, with one of my colleagues who was my then advisor, who was now a deputy minister, taking a walk in the morning. And I often say, when people say, we want to meet you, Mr. President, I said, no, come at 6 o'clock, come and walk with me. And then you will have me for an hour and a half as we do our 10-kilometer walk or so. So I was walking with Mr. Sevilla, and as we were walking past a house which I saw in construction for quite a while, and I kept asking, whose house is this? It is a massive house, and I wanted to know whose house it is, and I never got the information. So walking there, a car comes past, and I always mispronounce this person's name, Thibaut Touch or something like that. He gets out of the car with another gentleman. He wants to talk to me, to photograph, and all that. So we stop, and now we are against the wall of this massive house. And that's where the photograph happens and the video. So then the allegation is the person who was in the photograph is Maumela. It was not Maumela, it was Mr. Thibaut Touch and Mr. Jones from the United States, I later learned. So there was this brouhaha that, yes, I visit his home on a regular basis and so forth. I can say I walk past that house when I go on my walks. Now, in 2024, so it should be known, because Mr. Magwenya only focused on this photograph. In 2024, I am walking on that same street, and a person comes out of this house, and he greets me. And as I often meet people, I ask them, who are you? He says, I am Hangwani Maumela. And that's how he introduces himself to me. And I say, so you are the Maumela who is putting my name into disrepute. And he smiles away, and now I've encountered this person, and I walk away, and I walk to my home. And then in 2024, on the 26th of December, I am walking with my daughter, who loves walking too, on the same street. And there this young man comes out and he says, hello, Ramaphosa, my mother is here. Can you say hello to her? And I say, who is she? He says, it's Mboneni Maumela. Now, when I was at school in Papuli High School with my then wife, Hope Mudau, her brother was also there. And later I got to know that this Mboneni and this my wife's brother, my former wife's brother, they hooked up, and as they hooked up, they had a child. And this is now Hangwani Maumela, whom I did not know. But I know his mother because we were at school together. So he says, my mother is here. Can you say hello to her? And she's coming out of the yard towards the main gate. And as she's wearing a gown, a morning gown. And I immediately say, I can't allow her to come into the street with a morning gown. And I go towards the gate and I greet her and I say, how are you? How have you been? That's the sum total of it all. And I walk away. Now, when I walk around, I'm often greeted by people. One time I was walking in a street in Parkhurst. And as I was walking, here comes a man with his 2 children. And he says, Mr. President, can we take a photograph with you? And I say, no, that's fine. I pose, they take a picture. Little did I know that he is going to send a message on the street WhatsApp group, which said, the president is walking in our street. So I continue walking. I see people coming out and greeting. But then the reason I mention this is that there is a woman who opens the gate, closed gate of her yard. She's got 2 children. She says, Mr. President, can I take a picture of you and my children? But she's wearing a morning gown. I don't want her to come into the street. So I move towards the gate, slightly inside the gate, so that she can take a picture. So this is what often happens to me. I'm going to write a book about my morning encounters with South Africans, because some of them are quite interesting and exciting. So this is how this Maumela fellow then gets into this whole drama, because his aunt, who is my former wife of 47 years ago, is his aunt. And he is really not my relative as such. So I have encountered him, and you can make what you like of it. Do I deal with him? No. Do I meet him and sit down with him? No. Do I visit him at his house? No. Am I appalled at the allegations that are being made against him? Yes, I am appalled. And as I walk past that house, I know that that house was built with the money, as it is alleged, that was not properly acquired. And it is money that should have been spent on the health of our people. So the SIU has taken action, and I applaud that. And that is why I say we are making progress. The Special Investigating Unit is reclaiming stolen money, and we must support them and applaud them for the work that they are doing. Thank you.
And that's how the dollars got into the couch.
Order, honorable members. Thank you for quite an elaborative response, Honorable President. I deliberately left you to take your time because you had to clarify this matter to the South Africans. And once again, thank you. We are now proceeding to Honorable Mampuru.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings, President. President, as the EFF, we are not surprised to learn that of the allegations about the Mr. Simelane, as we have consistently warned the people of South Africa about the ANC systematic project to hollow out our public institutions for self-enrichment. Just last year, President, Minister Simelane also faced serious criminal allegations for her involvement in the looting of VPS, dating as far back in 2016 when she was the mayor of Polokwane. In light of how your cabinet have been reduced to a cesspool of corruption, mismanagement as dysfunctionality, Now, Mr. President, please tell us, why have you not removed Mr. Similani or Minister Similani from the executive after her said involvement in the looting of VPS? And why, Mr. President, do you insist on hiding behind the law when it suits you to protect one of your own from the consequences of their corrupt behavior? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. You may respond, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I do believe that I answered that question earlier when I said that when allegations are made, we need to follow due process and we need to evaluate what is said to have happened. And I ask for reports and I evaluate those reports, and it is on the basis of that that I make my call. That is what I said earlier, and I'm repeating it again. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable President. We are now proceeding to the last follow-up question, which is asked by Honourable Farmer.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Thank you, Honourable President. Honourable President, rest assured, when the Patriotic Alliance is taking over Cape Town soon, we will see to it that the lives of our people are bettered. And the Western Cape, for that matter.
That's it, I'm leaving.
How does the President reconcile his administration's stated commitment to a new dawn of ethical leadership by giving assurances to South Africans that no member of Cabinet is above the law? Thank you, President.
Thank you, Honourable Farmer. Over to you, Honourable President.
Honourable Chairperson, I did say in my head reply that due process needs to be followed and no member of the Cabinet is above the law, and when credible evidence is tabled and presented, we will take action. And if persons are charged of corruption and serious crimes, action will be taken. And in fact, when they are charged, and due process of the law needs to take place, and they will be removed from their position in Cabinet. And that is the approach that we have been taking. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable President. That then takes us to question number 9, which is asked by Honourable Dlamini with regards to the reviving of local industries. Over to you, Honourable President.
Honourable Chairperson, government continues its efforts to expand and also to deepen the domestic market as a driver of inclusive growth. Government has put measures to revive local industries through supporting domestic production, strengthening supply chains, and reducing reliance on imports. These measures include the implementation of the industrial master plans in key sectors such as in the automotive sector, in poultry, in furniture, in sugar, clothing and textiles, as well as steel. Our government is supporting the revival of manufacturing capabilities by using state procurement and by engaging with various procuring entities to support procurement of locally manufactured products as well as services. Now, according to local content declarations by organs of state, 11.7 billion worth of tenders with previously designated products for local content and production were awarded between July and September of this year. This government expenditure supports local manufacturers in value chains spanning from steel products, clothing and textiles and furniture to items or products such as boats and working vessels, cables, electric transformers, as well as valves. Government has been assisting the clothing and textile industry through an incentive program that we put in place called the Clothing, Textile, Footwear and Leather Growth Program, which is part of the master plan that we put in place. This program provides a combination of a grant and a loan to support the competitiveness and sustainability of companies related to people, processed products, market, and capital expenditure equipment. In the automotive sector, government is in the process of reviewing what we call the Automotive Production and Development Program. This aims to realign South Africa's automotive policy framework and also a rapidly evolving global environment driven by the transition to electric vehicles. The framework will be realigned while ensuring that we preserve our auto manufacturing capabilities as a country. And if there is an area where South Africa has distinguished itself greatly, it is in the automotive manufacturing industry, where a number of our workers even go and train workers in the original countries where these cars were made, like in Germany and Japan and places like that. So South Africa exports talent and skilled workers to go and train other workers in various locales in the world. Now, a central focus is on the fiscal and policy environment to determine whether these mechanisms adequately promote domestic vehicle demand, also localization, and also the green industrial investment. The review also examines opportunities for mineral beneficiation, recognizing South Africa's rich endowment of critical minerals, as well as their potential to support local battery assembly and broader electric vehicle value chain development. Our government also supports the agro-processing sector through a number of initiatives. These include incentive programs as well as support programs, and also include participants or players like the Land Bank and other financing schemes. Other initiatives also include the promotion of local sourcing by retailers. We are focused on boosting exports and also reliance on raw commodity exports. Our government's industrialization drive also seeks to strengthen our manufacturing sector. So we are enhancing our country's competitiveness in a number of areas of manufacturing, as well as the industrialization process. And as investments increase in our country, such as those that we were able to have announced in Brussels just a week ago, where the European Union agreed to invest almost 12 billion euros, which amounts to about 340 billion rand, into our country. And all this will be planted in factories, in capabilities, and in skills development in our country to enhance the competitiveness of our manufacturing and industrialization. So progress is being made and a lot is being done, and our government is focusing on that which will advance our country's economy. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable President. The first follow-up question will be asked by Honorable Dlamini. Over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson Dumela Ntate Mokamedi. Honorable President, I want to use this opportunity to express my appreciation for your leadership in driving domestic sourcing. We have seen how much South Africa retailers are now starting to source more products domestically to reduce reliance on global supply chains and mitigate risk from currency fluctuations. However, Honorable President, some local firms and industries still argue that the government can do more to transport localization in the manufacturing and textile industry? Does government have institutional mechanisms to monitor compliance with legislative commitment to foster a greater focus on localization, particularly in public procurement and tenders? What progress are we making in ensuring that there is greater compliance with localization to drive growth and great employment opportunities for our people? Ke a leboha mookamedi.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you for the question, Honorable Dlamini. Yes, we are, through DTIC, working on mechanisms and frameworks of monitoring precisely how the localization process and program is unfolding. We need to do much more. And as I said earlier, from September or so, well, in the latter part of this year, we have already seen 11.7 billion rand of procurement through localization. We are a big economy, and we need to see much more of localization and relying less and less on exports, on items that can be produced here. You're absolutely right that we are seeing more and more of local products being produced here. But government itself, in its procurement process, needs to do much more. And sometimes we don't do as much as we should, but we are focusing on enhancing that and improving that. And we are also encouraging the private sector to join in this process. And a number of companies are heeding this. There has been quite a lot of criticism by the usual economic critics and so forth, who dismiss this call for localization by ourselves. But we are seeing the effect, and what it does lead to is more job creation, factories being set up, entrepreneurs coming forward to make local products. And we've seen it with clothing items and with a number of other products. So we need to speed this process up, but as you correctly say, put in place mechanisms that will enable us to see line of sight on how this is being implemented. So we need to do more, but the process has already started. And in many, many ways, this is a wonderful process. Whilst we invite investors to come and invest in our country, yes, we want them to set up factories here to produce products that will be made of even raw materials that come from our country, and the local content must keep on rising. And even as we do procurement in government, we want to see local content beginning to tick up, and so that we are able to create more jobs, to create more capabilities, and to train more and more of our young people to be properly skilled. So we will focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable President. The next follow-up question is asked by Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Honourable President. Mr. President, the DA's trade policy explicitly rejects export taxes and supports an export-orientated industrial strategy that removes export duties. Yet, your cabinet is now considering a 25% export tax on raw chrome to compensate for government failures in energy and policing. While manufacturing remains weaker than before COVID, and we've seen plants like ArcelorMittal closing down. Now the question is, which of these conflicting visions are you backing, a punitive tax regime or genuine reforms? And what immediate actions are you taking to align all government departments so that industry can compete rather than being taxed into extinction? Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Over to you, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think if one looks at how industrial policy manifests itself, you have to use a number of measures that are aimed at advancing economic development through an industrial policy that will be focused on creating jobs, strengthening your firms, and also advancing our industries. And with that as well is also protecting our industries as well. And it does not mean that you need to be focusing more on protection. You need to be focusing on unleashing the energy and the capability of your industries, of your firms. Now, the issue of export taxation is utilized by a number of countries in the world, and some use it to good effect. Now, for instance, you quote our chrome industry. Our chrome industry is a case in point, where, yes, our energy costs have been at a high level, and to a point where a number of our foundries and smelters have been closing down because their competitiveness is becoming more and more diminished. And you therefore need to utilize various measures. And you don't need to be unidimensional. You need to utilize the measures that you believe can have greater effect and be able to increase the capability of your firms. And the export tax that has been mooted is one of those measures. And at the same time, we want those companies to look at how best they can address the issue of their electricity costs. And they can address it in a variety of ways, particularly in the era where we are in the renewable energy type of era, and where their energy costs can be much more reduced. But at the same time, we also need to think about the jobs of South Africans, and find a way of protecting those jobs and ensuring that we enhance those jobs. And by so doing, we want manufacturing to be based here in the country. Other countries, for instance, use tariffs, and tariffs are taxes. And other countries will use export taxation, and other countries will use a variety of incentives. So a combination of all these measures, if one picks one or the other, can actually lead to greater success. And that is precisely what is now being done, to look at how we protect our industries and how we advance the job creation process. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. Before we could proceed to the next follow-up question, can we kindly acknowledge the presence of Honorable Mabibo's family in the gallery? With us, we've got Mary Mabibo, Tirisano Mabibo, Hope Mitzileng, Lorraine Munareng, as well as Taina Nkele. Can we acknowledge their presence? Thank you very much, and thank you for gracing this session today. We really appreciate it. We are now proceeding to Honorable Gerike.
Thank you, Chairperson and Mr. President. The country's textile industry has over the years continued to struggle despite your efforts to revive it. South Africa's textile industry has but collapsed as it faces massive factory shutdowns, mass job cuts, and reduced local capacity due to cheap imports. This despite the existence of local innovations. We were therefore concerned to learn, Mr. President, of Mr. Gayton Mackenzie's recent meeting with Shein in Singapore. And we are particularly concerned that poorly managed partnerships with major foreign firms could worsen the situation, particularly for local designers who already struggle to access markets and support. Given that Shein is a global corporation with a significant impact on local textile and apparel industries worldwide, what did Mr. Gayton tell you regarding agreements or commitments made with Shein? And what recent steps of intervention have you taken, Mr. President, to ensure that South Africa's manufacturing industry is not weakened by uncoordinated ministerial engagements? Thank you, sir.
Over to you, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The process of reaching agreements with other players in the world is well coordinated through Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and whatever agreements are arrived at are properly considered and properly synthesized by the department as well as by cabinet. And in doing all this, we ensure that all government departments work in an integrated fashion. So there is no government department that will just hive off on its own and go and reach agreements that are not known by others. And of course, all of us in government are entitled to meet whoever we can encounter in the world, and as we do so, whatever proposals are put forward are brought to government to consider, and agreements that are possible to be reached are properly discussed. So in this case in point, I would say that Minister Mackenzie has not yet reported to me about this particular issue, and whatever the intentions of the counterpart in another country would be, has to be properly discussed and properly evaluated by government on an integrated basis before any agreement is reached. Now, our main focus is to protect South African jobs. Our main focus, particularly in the clothing and textile industry, which we have focused clear attention on. We've reached a master agreement with a various number of players, and we put in place incentives to protect those jobs and to revive that industry. And yes, not only ourselves as South Africa, but many countries continue to face pressure from cheaper products that seep into their markets. And in the end, we have to take measures to protect our jobs, to protect our industries. Steps that we have taken in the past and we will continue to take to ensure that we do protect South African jobs. So I will pay attention to what you have said and get some answers as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable President. The last supplementary question is from Honourable van den Berg.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Mr. President, as you surely know, the Freedom Front Plus is very critical of discriminative policies such as affirmative action, cadre deployment and tenders, looting the state, causing infrastructure collapse and the creation of a new connected elite. In order to get economic zones to work and lead to the revival of local industries to flourish, are you, Mr. President, willing to A, reform these policies, and B, reimagine the special economic zone model to focus more closely on productive micro-entrepreneurial owned production units, able to employ thousands of people, producing towards the same identical products, and then to market these products through state-supported networks to guarantee stable markets and feasible demand for these products? And if so, when can we meet with you with some progressive plans? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. My quick and clear answer on the latter part of your question is we can meet at any time. I'd like to hear what you term progressive plans. because we want to pursue progressive policies. And I hope you do know what progressive means. It's not just an English term. Loaded in that word means transformational policies that work to the interests of everyone, not only to the sectional interests of certain groups. Now, you ask a question, are we prepared to reconsider our policies? Our policies are based on our Constitution. Constitution says we must foster equality. And fostering equality means that we must correct the imbalances of the past. Now, I always get surprised when people raise the issue of employment equity, black economic empowerment, and so forth. And those people are denialists of what happened in the past. We had apartheid here, and apartheid policies were policies that were directed at empowering one group of South Africans against another. In fact, it was worse than that. It was configured in a way where one group had to be upgraded while the other one was suppressed. For instance, I was a general secretary in the mining industry, of the National Union of Mine Workers. White workers were allowed to have blasting certificates. And so they had certificates that said you are miners, and your salary was therefore quite high. Black workers who did exactly the same job were prevented from getting a blasting certificate because the law said only white workers may have a blasting certificate and black workers could not. Now, what we are seeking to do is to equalize, to ensure that those who were prevented from getting those opportunities are upgraded. Now, I often hear the complaint about employment equity. Those people forget what happened in the past. I know for a fact, because I was a general secretary in the mining industry, black workers could not even be boiler makers. They could not even be the skilled workers who could work in an industrial complex like the mining industry. They were always relegated to the lower level of jobs. And yet they were doing more or less exactly the same type of work as white workers. I know it because we fought against it. We even came to the apartheid parliament then to come and argue for the law to be scrapped. Now, that was employment empowerment for white workers. Now, I get surprised when many people then say, no, you may not do that. And yet it was done in the past. And yet what we are saying now is that let's equalize. Let's bring those who were prevented from getting those positions to be taken to the level where they can actually also reap the benefits of economic development. That is precisely what we are seeking to do. And with the economic zones, they are also meant to promote precisely that. They are meant to ensure that there's an inclusive economy that we build, which will include everyone. The apartheid economy only favored white people. It did not favor black people. Now, the Constitution is very clear. And I'd like us to meet, yes, but I also want us to discuss our constitutional principles. So you're welcome. Let's discuss your progressive ideas and underline progressive, as well as the constitutional principles that inform employment equity, that inform black economic empowerment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable President. We are now proceeding to question 10. I'm told that Honourable Mampuru will be replacing Honourable Makeni Kisini in this regard. The question, Honourable President, is with regards to the railway stations as well as the commuter rail services. I'm now affording an opportunity to respond to the question.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The government, through PRASA, has embarked on a comprehensive recovery and modernization plan for our country's commuter rail services, which had previously deteriorated due to infrastructure neglect, due to vandalism, due to operational failures, as well as corruption. This includes upgrading the signalling and telecommunication system of the metro rail network to restore core rail functions. This will enable higher frequency services and safer and more reliable operations. There has been substantial capital investment over recent years on rolling stock acquisition, as well as the recovery in infrastructure. Plans are underway to restore as well as to optimize recovered service lines, to reintroduce signalling. The infrastructure-led recovery program is expected to create a number of jobs through direct and indirect induced efforts. The full recovery of PRASA commuter rail services is projected to add a sum of 34 billion rand to South Africa's GDP annually. This recovery also supports a number of jobs each year and injects over 15 billion into the economies or the incomes of households. And beyond quantifiable economic benefits, the project will improve safety, it will also reduce travel costs, it will promote social welfare by restoring dignity and reliable transport access to many of our people. PRASA has made significant progress, recovering a number of lines, up to 35 lines, over the past 3 years. It aims to achieve up to 120 million passenger trips in the current year, which it hopes will more than double over the medium-term expenditure framework period. In summary, the government's revival plan includes significant capital investments as well as operational reforms, and this will yield substantial benefits, particularly when it comes to job creation as well as economic growth. Now, this is work that is underway, and many of our people are beginning to see real progress in this regard. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable President. I now afford Honourable Mampuru to ask a follow-up question.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings again, President. Just to follow up on your response, then my follow-up question will be, which entities and departments are responsible for this rail revival plan? Thank you.
Over to you, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The Department of Transport, as well as PRASA, as an entity, are the lead players. But at the same time, there are quite a number of other supportive departments in all this. You can call it the Department of Forestry, Fisheries, as well as Environment also gets involved, because there's the issue of environment that is involved in this. The Department of Energy and Electricity are also involved, because there's electricity that drives our trains, and the various other departments also participate in all this. But the lead department really is the Department of Transport, and the entity is the department, is PRASA, and a number of other sub-entities that are also administered by the Department of Transport. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable President. The next follow-up question shall be asked by Honourable Mabibo. Oh, sorry, I always confuse Honorable Mabilo and Mabibo, President. So, yes, so.